afternoon. We're going to keep talking today about Smith's onion, in particular the behaviors, the outer shell of the onion, the observable part, directly observable part of culture. Those behaviors are categorized as 12 signal systems along which human communication passes, usually in combinations of systems. So far, we've talked about the verbal, the written, the numeric, the pictorial, the artifactual, and the audio. Now we're going to talk about the kinesic, the optical, and the tactile. The kinesic first. It's number 7. It's pretty low, so it's more than halfway down the continuum from 1 to 12. Remember that the lower you get in the continuum, the more believable the more believed that signal is, and therefore the more believable. And the higher you are in the continuum, the more conscious you are of the use of that signal. So 7 is it's more than halfway down. You've crossed the halfway mark. You're starting to get into the territory of things that you do without thinking and things that you read without thinking. Now, body language, facial stuff, posture, gestures, that gets a lot of press already. Like, I'm not going to talk about it for a long time because it gets a lot of press. You can Google body language and get tons and tons and tons of information about it. Like the way people stand defensively, the way people stand, the testosterone stance, the dominant alpha stances. But there are things that are a little bit less biological, and they're culturally informed and culturally derived, and they communicate a lot. I have a friend, a colleague who works, I was at a conference, we were talking about this, and he mentioned this term in Japanese. He works in Japan. He mentioned this term, harage. And I remember that term from my time in judo and aikido. Hara speaks to your belly. Actually, it's a reference to your center, your like center of gravity. Sometimes fighters will say that another fighter has or doesn't have hara, and that's always a discussion. They always mean whether or not that person stands with their hips between their feet or if they stand with their body off. So it's really very literally your lower abdomen. Ge is language or talk, so it's like belly talk. The term for body language there is belly talk, and he thinks it's because you feel other people's kinesics in your belly. You don't read them and go, I'm noticing that he's waving his hand a lot. It's you feel it down inside your belly more than you read it up here. Your brain is actually what's processing it, but you feel the other person's communication. Dance is an obvious, intentional, cultural container of physical movements that mean things. That doesn't require any more description. Every culture has dances that convey things, that tell a story about them, and it's a way of physically communicating. There are taboos too, like what you don't do, gestures you don't use. Like a gesture in one culture being okay, or 3 means something else in another place, something horrible, like the worst gesture you can do. I have a friend who recently, a few years ago, told me to stop. Because sometimes when I teach, my students that I'm very familiar with, and I'm listening to them process something, I verbally work through it, trying to get to the answer. I'll shadowbox a little bit, right? But I don't just shadowbox. I also throw an elbow. I'll throw another elbow. This gesture, wildly rude here. It took me 3 years to learn that fact because it's taboo, so it's not talked about. Often, kinesics can be used to say the things that you don't want to say, but you want to say them. So, I had a student who was an important man, an English student. He was a very important man here. He was president of a major company. And he was telling me what he did last weekend. I was like, hey man, what'd you do last weekend? He's like, well, I called my friends up and we went for a walk and had a good time and got home about 3 in the morning. It was a long walk, right? But it wasn't a walk, it was a walk. What's a walk? This means we drank enormous amounts of vodka, right? So I don't want to say that I'm a Muslim. I don't want to say I went out drinking, but I'm letting you know that I went drinking. But I don't have to say it. You don't have to be shamed by knowing it, by admitting you know it, and I don't have to be shamed by saying it because I didn't say it. I said it. See? And an exception to this are micro expressions. There are things that minor twitches of the facial muscles that are programmed way down in your brain's planet core, and they're biological. All humans have them everywhere, and those are not culturally derived, and they communicate basically the same things across cultures. So don't get that confused. If you've seen like the show Lie to Me, or the research about microexpressions and knowing when someone's deceiving you, that's pretty straight up. But that, actually, the whole issue of deception and telling the truth, and let me see, do I want to give time to that? Yes, I do. So here, sometimes people will tell me, like, listen, you really need to be direct. Like, what? You got to be direct as you talk about this. You need to talk about it directly. What they mean is, don't talk about it directly. You need to start here and work your way all the way around the thing, and after you've gone all the way around, then we'll both know what you're trying to say, but neither of us will have to have been shamed in the process by the overt, explicit communication, right? Sometimes lower signals, and you'll hear about this later on, signals lower on the pole here, on the list, are used to convey the actual truth, while signals higher up are used to smooth the relationship. People within the culture, or people who understand the combination, the interplay between the systems in that particular culture, don't view that as a lie. They don't feel like they were deceived. They feel like they were honored and protected because they actually know the truth. The other person tried to tell them the truth, but not with their mouth. They told them the truth using another signal. You'll hear about that again later. Optical, light and color. So colors have significance. Lots and lots and lots of flags have red, white, and blue in them. But the American flag is referred to by Americans as the old red, white, and blue. Now, America is not old. It's a 200-something-year-old country. It's not old in comparison to the vast majority of other countries on the planet. It's really young. So our flag isn't the old red, white, and blue. It's the new red, white, and blue. Or it's one of the red, whites, and blues. But what we're referring to when we say that is the cultural significance of our flag as an indicator of who we are, and those colors, red, white, and blue, especially in combination, are almost always used as a communication of patriotism. Brides in many European and North American cultures, brides wear white to demonstrate their purity. They're virgins. In many Eastern cultures, brides wear red. Here where I live, brides often wear white with a big red belt, big red sash around their hips, conveying that they are still virgins. It's an ancient biological indicator of marital purity. That color's super significant. Red here, white there. That color's super significant, and it will appear in every wedding because it says something important. Good luck colors. If you go to Chinese restaurants in Tennessee or in Virginia or Michigan or Oregon, you're going to run into a huge preponderance of the colors red and gold, especially red, because red is a good luck color. Colors have significance. If you go into a Kurdish restaurant in, say, Tennessee, you might notice that some of the Kurdish restaurants don't have an overt color scheme, and some have a very specific color scheme. And when you start to look into it, you'll realize that the colors in this restaurant are the colors of the Kurdish flag, although Kurdistan doesn't have recognition as a nation. But they are shouting their national identity through the colors they've chosen for their restaurant. Light and darkness. I mentioned in the artifacts conversation, I think it was here, artifactual communication in the last video, number 5, that every living room, kind of guest receiving room here where I live, has a table and a chandelier. And it was actually said to us when we moved here, if you don't have a chandelier in a room, it communicates no one loves you. Like, that's funny. It's a chandelier in every room of every apartment, of every house, all over the country. Why? Well, because chandeliers carry light and they spread light. Why would it not having a chandelier mean no one loves me? And as I started to explore that, I ran into this proverb: may your home always be dark. It wasn't a proverb, it was a curse. May your home always be dark. Like, may the power always be out at my house? Like, what do you mean? When someone who lives in a house when a family member who lives in the house with you dies, the lights go out for a while. The lights are kept out as an indication of mourning. Only the light from the outside, the house stays dark. So may your house always be dark is may you constantly have someone in your family who you love dying. May you have a never-ending plague of death in your close family. Right? Horrible, right? It's a terrible thing to say. And this is why if you don't have a chandelier in your house, no one loves you, because certainly we want light in the house, right? May you be blessed and not have a whole bunch of people dying. Light and darkness communicate something everywhere. Tactile. This is the use of touch and feeling. So like things like handshakes and kisses and what side you kiss on, what side you hug on. It's always a little awkward when I travel between this culture and the states where I grew up, because I go back from here and I shake people's hand and I want to kiss them, men, and they're really put off by that. And then I come back here and men hug on one side, dominantly hug on one side in the States, but you kiss on the other side here. So as I lean in to try to, I'm shaking their hand, I lean in to try to hug them here, I accidentally lean toward the American side while they're leaning toward their side, and we wind up almost kissing on the mouth. Awkward. And then I travel to Europe and all the women are kissing me. I have no idea what to do. Kissing me, it's never done, never, don't do that. The use of touch conveys certain things in certain places. Here, guys will hold hands and hold arms and escort each other across the street. To not do that can convey, we're not really close because I'm not taking responsibility for your safety with all these cars around. So on the underground train, the guys are like hanging all over each other, like fixing each other's eyebrows and fixing each other's hair and their arms around each other's necks so they can hear over the loud train, but it doesn't bother them that their beards are brushing up while they hold on to each other and talk, and there's absolutely nothing remotely not heterosexual about those behaviors. That can be very difficult to get used to, yeah? Those adjustments can be difficult because their touch and safety and intimacy go really close together in the way we are experiencing our world. So this is getting really low, like down the lizard brain of our communication. And so adjustment on this level can be tricky. Also, not over-interpreting other people's tactile cues can be really tricky. So when someone from here travels to Europe, they will come back frequently and say the women are loose and easy, but the women just happily shook hands and hugged and kissed on the cheek because that's just how you behave with someone that you have absolutely no romantic interest in, right? It's very difficult for someone from here not to interpret those signals because they're not just reading the signal, they're interpreting it through their own cultural lens. So as you're doing your observations, you're going to find the lower you get on the scale, the more viscerally you respond to the signal you're observing, and you're going to have to work harder not to interpret. Okay? So today was kinesic, optical, and tactile. Next video will be the last 3 signals. Peace to you.